hours in the house, sitting beside her and reading, or grocery shopping with her, searching out the best bell peppers or the best cut of meat. When I did have to socialize with kids my age, like at the sleepovers to which every girl in the class had been invited, I felt like I was from another country. How did girls know what to whisper about? Why were they all thinking about the same things? Depending on the year, it could be Barbies, dress-up, boys, hairstyles, lip gloss, or Teen Beat magazine, none of which interested me. I had no real friends until middle school, when the Kellogg twins moved to Baltimore from Albany, New York. They, too, looked like they didn't know the customs and rituals of girlhood. They, too, were happy to spend an afternoon by the record player listening to the Pippin soundtrack, or playing the piano and singing multi-layered Baroque songs in melody, harmony, and bass, or watching reruns of The French Chef and then trying out one of the recipes, or even just making a simple dessert featured in Good Housekeeping magazine. The more Mrs. Cohn told me about Izzy on that phone call, the more I wanted to take care of her. All I could think was how much nicer it would be to spend my summer looking after a little girl who had no friends than going to our country club pool and being the girl who had no friends. I barely listened when Mrs. Cohn told me how much they'd pay. The money felt like a bonus. Before the call had ended, I'd decided I'd save everything I earned and then buy my own record player at the end of the summer, one I could keep in my room. Maybe it would even have separate speakers. If there was enough money left over, I'd buy a radio so I could listen to American Top 40, the songs from the records that my mother would never let me buy. Downstairs, I could hear the front door open and then slam shut. Mrs. Cohn froze, listening, her ear tilted toward the doorway. "Richard?" she called out. "Richard, we're up here!" My stomach clenched at the idea that Dr. Cohn would ask me to call him Richard. Mrs. Cohn had told me to call her Bonnie, but I couldn't. Even in my head, I thought of her as Mrs. Cohn, though really she didn't look like a Mrs. anything to me. Mrs. Cohn's hair was long, red, and shiny. She had freckles all over her face, and her lips were waxy with bright orange lipstick. Draped over her body was either a long silk blouse or a very short silk dress. The liquid-looking fabric swished against her skin, revealing the outline of her nipples. The only place I'd seen nipples like that was in posters of celebrities or women in liquor ads. I'd never seen even a hint of my mother's nipples. The couple of times I'd entered her bedroom when she was in her bra, it was like seeing breasts in beige armor. "What?" Dr. Cohn yelled from the bottom of the stairs. "Mommy!" Izzy yelled. "Richard! Izzy! Come up!" It was more hollering than I'd ever heard in my own house. Once, just before bedtime, my mother had loudly said, "Damn it," when she'd stepped on a shard of glass from a plate I'd dropped in the kitchen earlier in the day. I had thought the world was about to cave in like a tar paper shack being consumed by fire. It wasn't only the words. I'd never seen my mother barefoot before. My eyes must have been bugging out of my head as I watched her pull the shard from her heel. "Mary Jane," my mom had said, "go upstairs and fetch my slippers so I can mop this floor the right way." She had stood over my shoulder and supervised when I had mopped up after breaking the plate. Obviously, I hadn't done a good job. "Why are you barefoot?" I asked. My mother only said, "This is why we should never be barefoot. Now go get the slippers." "You come down!" Dr. Cohn yelled up the stairs. "Izzy made something." "I made something," Izzy yelled. "Mary Jane is here," Mrs. Cohn yelled back. "Who?" Dr. Cohn shouted. "Mary Jane, the summer nanny." I smiled nervously. Did Dr. Cohn know I had been hired to work in his house? And how much hollering could go on before someone moved closer to the other person?